Hey guys, what's up, Mustangs? Pooh guys, welcome back to Forza Horizon 3. It's been a while, and I'm on here for a challenge. You see, Group B was the pinnacle of rally technology, where cars use the same technology as F1 vehicles to have horsepowers of 500 horsepower to take it. This vehicle here has 600 horsepower, the Lancia Delta S4. They did some extreme testing on the engine and got 1,000 horsepower out of a 1.6 liter engine. That is lots of powers. That is lots of powers. Now, it was banned because of many fatalities and injuries because, 600 horsepower cars on roads that are not much wider than the 600 horsepower cars do result in a bit of death, unfortunately. So, yeah, not many cars are able to properly compete, like the RS200, MG Metro, the RX-7 was entered but never properly raced. Same thing with the 288 GTO and the Porsche 959. I know my numbers right. 959, there we go. So, what if you built other vehicles for Group B? Now, the problem with this is Group Bs are notorious for having pretty much no regulation. All the regulations were based off engine size. We can't do that in Horizon 3. So what I did is I found an average of the 4 Group B cars we have in this game. The Audi Quattro, the RS200, all the competitive ones, the MG, and the Delta S4. And I averaged them out to have, so the vehicles that I built have around 485 to 500 horsepower. The tire size is 265s all around, and the weight is anywhere from 2,000 to 2,300 pounds. Those are the rough estimates I wanted the cars to be in, and, yeah, it was difficult. I had to have cars from 1980 to 1986 because that's the year when Group B was banned. So from 1980 to 1986 was to build here, which surprisingly limited how many cars were available. I thought there would be a lot more, but yeah, no, funnily enough, there's not very many four-wheel drive, or there's not very many cars from 1980 to 1986 that can meet these regulations that are not already Group B cars. So, yeah, a little bit unfortunate, but there you go. I still managed to make it work. And I needed a course, and I needed a benchmark time. That is why I went to the Switchback Trails, which is one of my favorite rally courses, because most rallies in this game are very high speed, very rely on power. And that's very fun to drive around, it's very fast, but it's not really proper rallying. So this one is one of the few that has really tight and twisty sections. And I'm using the Lancia Delta S4 because this is considered the pinnacle of Group B technology, the first known vehicle of twin charging. And it was a mental machine. Lancia pretty much said, engineers, do whatever you want, here is a blank check, cash it when you're done. And they made this. And the benchmark time was 2:11.498, set by the Lancia here. And, yeah, each vehicle would have one run if you want to complete the stage, like a proper rally, because proper rallies, you don't get a restart if you run wide. Most of the time you're dead, but, we're just gonna gloss over that for a bit. And, some of these courses actually more efficient to slide around. Now, I did take the shortcut for all the vehicles, so it is still fair. Just for reference. Yeah, I did a separate run, so all the recordings you'll see are runs after the fact. They're not actually during the timed runs. I did those all separately, just to maintain fairness. I was properly concentrated and all that stuff. And you see the Lancia getting very sideways here. Yeah, it's a fun rally. It's one of my favorites on the entire game. And, just for fun, I did all these in interior view, and, it's quite scary. It is quite scary. Now, there is a little bit of tarmac at the end, but it's so little tarmac, it doesn't really matter. And the slowest vehicle today was the Subaru Browser 216036. And this vehicle is quite crazy. 499 horsepower, 2,100 pounds. I could have made it lighter, I could have made it right on the edge of the weight limit. However, that would have, I was fearing for the control. And, it's a good thing I did, because it is still very terrifying. It likes to get bounced around a lot. A lot. You see there, just wheeling, and we're in the air, in the wrong area. But, that time, we did actually manage to keep it out of the wall on this recorded run. And, truth be told, wasn't as bad as I was fearing it would be, considering it has tiny tires, lots of power. It is one of the more powerful vehicles here, considering it's at the pretty much max of the scale. And I was trying to not use the bigger engines, like the 4-liter V8s, 5-liter 612, something like that. I didn't want to use those because I wanted these cars to be light. And also, the power band on the smaller vehicles, the revs are a lot higher, so I can get more power delivered quickly. There we go. I know English. And you can see what's going to take that nice little shortcut before going to the water splash. Yeah, this vehicle is, a little terrifying. And through that corner, you want to go sideways, but you want to go too sideways. You want to get just enough to get that little assistance from the front end turn. Like what you just saw there, that's what you really want to do. On the record run, it was a little too fast. On that corner, you really want to be sideways, because then it gives you a perfect straight line onto this corner. And this is a pretty quick accelerating vehicle. And, yeah, you can just see the bumps and doors. Yeah, it's not a terrible car to drive, but could have been a lot worse. And then we had the BMW M635 for the 215102. This vehicle has 497 horsepower. However, it is quite a big boat, and weighs, with all the weight reduction you can possibly imagine, 2,900 pounds. It is the heaviest vehicle by some margin. Bear in mind, the Group B cars are getting as low as 2,100 pounds. So, being 800 pounds heavier with the same amount of power is, well, not good. So, you would expect us to struggle. It was very good handling. It dealt with the bumps very well, and the brakes were pretty good. But just trying to get all that weight around is not quite good enough. And that just caused it to struggle. Now this jump here was terrifying in the other vehicles, as you will get later on, because they're much faster accelerating. And that means you're going much faster into a braking zone with a sharp corner while you're in the air. And that's very scary. Now, the BMW is going slow enough that it doesn't have a problem with it. But, yeah, other vehicles you will see later, had fun, we'll say, with that. Yeah, you can see that's a much better launcher there than the Subaru took on its recorded run. So, yeah, like I said, it's a very nice car to drive. You can carry some decent speed with it. It's just, the speed it's carrying isn't enough. It feels very fast, because you're going flat out everywhere. However, since you're struggling with the weight transfer and all that stuff, you yes, you're going flat everywhere, but overall you're not going very quickly. And that causes the BMW to struggle. Alright. The other crazy vehicle was the Fiat 124 Abarth from 1980. And it's the least powerful vehicle here, a measly 433 horsepower, because the only engine it could get was the turbo rally engine. That's the only one that could get enough power. And yeah, it is just 2,200 pounds, so it's one of the lightest vehicles here. But it's just not quite good enough. It's still it can turn around. It's not quite as easy to drive as the Subaru, and it doesn't have the power to hang with the top dogs, if you know what I mean. And that it just isn't very good. It's just slow. It's very fast accelerating, but then we just don't have the handling, we don't have the brakes or the suspension. So, although that's very good for such a little horsepower, it's 67 horsepower down on other vehicles. And it is the lowest PI car here. It's 40 PI down on some of the other vehicles on this list. And for that, I mean, it's a pretty darn good showing. But unfortunately, it just doesn't have the engine slot. It just had, say, the 3.7 liter V6. I've used that in a few. This may actually be pretty solid, but it just doesn't. You see the speed we're carrying. We do clonk the wall, but it carries some pretty decent speed. It's just not got the power. So, yeah, a bit of a sad story for the Fiat, but that's just what happens sometimes. Sometimes engine swaps just do not work in your favor. And that is the unfortunate story of the Fiat, which did a 214.801. Now, this vehicle I was a little bit afraid of because this is the lightest vehicle here by only 50 pounds, but it is still the lightest. The Ford Fiesta XR2. 497 horsepower, 2,111 pounds, in a very small wheelbase hatchback, which is usually a recipe for disaster if you know anything about the Metro 6R4. And it's difficult to drive, but most importantly, it's not undrivable. It does get very close to death, but luckily, it didn't do that on the actual run. It only did that for the recorded run. Now, it didn't lose time. I did see the floor in this vehicle. I'm referring to the fact that occasionally on a bump, your back end will shoot up into the sky, and for about a second into a braking zone, all you see is floor. Which is not what you want to see when you're going into a braking zone at 130 miles an hour. And, you can see the danger of the short wheelbase. Like I said, luckily, I managed to get a clean run on my one run out for this vehicle, but you can see on this recorded run, that did not happen. So, tad bit unfortunate for the Fiesta to at least look this way, but yeah, I mean, overall it's an okay car. You can just see it's just awful now, but it did manage to do a 214.533, which I was expecting it to be worse, residing in a solid 6th place, but yeah, this was the last car I built as well, so this is when I pretty much perfected the model, if you will, for the Group B cars, but yeah, it's a little scary. You can see there, sometimes it just has a mind of its own, and it's very fast accelerating, usually 112 on that speed. We saw 105 on the Fiat. And, that does cause its own set of problems. But, there you go. We did lose the wing right at the end. Yeah, very scruffy run for the terrifying little Fiesta. This is our 5th place contender, the Toyota Trueno GT Apex. This is our best powered weight ratio out of all of them. 500 horsepower on the dot, and weighing just 2,100 pounds. 2,177 pounds to be exact, making it exactly 1 pound heavier than the Brat. Which means it is scarily fast. 135 on a rally stage. It is quite scary. And it's also quite uncontrollable. Because it has 2 35s on the front and 2 65s on the rear. And all of this power and none of that weight means, well, very quick acceleration. And it gets to a point where it's actually too fast for its own good, so it's a proper Group B car. So it's probably the most accurate description of a Group B car that I've built. Way too much power, way too little weight, and handling is just kind of thrown for the weight side. It did manage a 5th place, which is pretty good. That was a 2:12.066. So we're now within a second and a half of that Lancia, but yeah, this was a terrifying little death machine. Not quite as terrifying as the Fiesta, but in its own way, horrifying to drive. And you see I'm just shocking it through these corners. It was actually quite nice through these corners. These high-speed ones. Because you could literally just throw it in sideways and it would come out perfectly fine. But the low-speed corners and the ultra-high-speed corners, you were fearing for your life when driving this vehicle. And it's probably the craziest builds I have ever made. And it's just insane. But it did manage 5th place on this rally stage, which is, for the lunacy that it's describing, not too bad at all. Now, this vehicle is our only S2 class car, the BMW 1M. 490 horsepower, 4-wheel drive, and well, it's a supercar. It's a very classic supercar. And one would expect it, since it's an S2 class, to be fantastic. And it is, it's a very good car. However, it's still 0.2 of a second off at 2:11.686. And, yeah, you can see on this run I missed a checkpoint by doing an incredible thread the needle. Because, that was fantastic. It was the wrong way, but it was fantastic. So, that was both an epic save and a ruined race. But luckily, again, we didn't do that on our timed run. Just a recorded run, so we are all good for the time. And yeah, I mean, I was wondering if I should even include this car, but I decided to run it just in case. Because S2, I'm thinking it's because of the straight line speed. It's a very fast vehicle in a straight line, thanks to 500 horsepower pretty much, and a very aerodynamic looking body. So I'm thinking that's why the PI is so high on this vehicle, because it's slower than cars that are 20 PI lower than it. So, yeah, it's a great car, but the PI is a little overstating it. And for a classic supercar on a rally stage, that was pretty impressive. I think this was actually planned to be homologated to Group B, but then it got canceled before BMW could actually build it. So this was in the works to become a Group B car, but like the Ferrari 288, never quite made it that far. Which is a shame, because who knows what this would have done. It's like one of the great what-ifs of rallying. And certainly in Horizon 3, it is pretty solid. You can carry lots of speed, you can brake very late. And chucking it around is always fun. Yeah. Pretty solid choice, surprisingly. 3rd place is, well, the Porsche 911 3.3 Turbo. Almost missed this car. It was a rewards car for Forza, so it wasn't an auto show. Luckily, I just happened to be scrolling through, I saw this, and I was like, hey, that's eligible. Ignore the fact I hit a rock. That didn't happen in the timed run, just in the recorded run. You can see why I'm doing these separate. I did these separately, because that might cause problems. So, yeah. The Porsche here decides to do a reverse entry, as I describe what's going on. Yeah, these were not good runs. But, this was the first car I built, one of the first cars I built. Besides this, yeah, I built the M6, and then I built this. So, this will be the second car I built. And it's pretty darn good. Porsches are probably the most successful of, like, diversity-wise. They've won the Dakar Rally, they've won Le Mans, they've raced in Formula 1. I'm not sure if they've done Indy, probably not, but they are pretty darn good at pretty much everything. And rallying is no exception with this 911, doing a pretty solid time of 2:11.599. It is just over a tenth of a second slower of that Lancia. And despite the fact of having less power and more weight, 2,500 pounds in this vehicle, which, okay, is pretty light for today's standards, but remember, Group B cars are 2,100 pounds to 2,400 pounds. This is pretty much the equivalent of a Ford RS200, which is a fantastic machine, but it never really succeeded. And, yeah, the Porsche, pretty solid choice for Group B rallying. And the fastest vehicle of the day, beating the Lancia by 1.03 seconds, is the Holden Commodore. Never expected it in a million years. Into the 210.464, being the second place Lancia. That is ridiculously fast. I don't know how this car did it, but it is fantastic. Remember how I said you don't want to use the big V8s because they're heavy? Well, this is stuck with the V8 because it's the only engine that can get enough power. And it's one of the few engines that can go into this car at all. So, I kind of threw in the 6.2 liter V8 in here. And, somehow, despite redlining about 3,000 RPM lower than everybody else, and weighing 2,500 pounds with 497 horsepower, somehow, the Commodore here is fantastic at rallying. Because it's not very often a car goes one and a bit seconds faster than a Lancia Delta S4. And it's even stranger when that vehicle that beat it has 400 more pounds of weight on it, smaller tires than it, and less power than it. And yet it did it. The only reason is handling. And I don't really understand that, because I thought other vehicles are better handling than this. But no, this just blows everything out of the water by a second or more. I mean, props to you, Australia, but that was a shock to me, this car doing so well. Because I built it and I was like, oh hey, this will fit in the class, let's give this a try. Oh, it's very fast, would you look at that. Yeah, it's a ludicrous machine. I'm not sure if it was a perfect run on my part or something, but yeah, this car is truly a wonderful machine. Yes, this is the fastest vehicle we built. Ironically, this is the Holden Commodore Group A. And it's built to Group B regulations. Yeah, that was a bit ironic. Yeah, it's a solid vehicle for rallying. Who would have thought the Australian four-door sedan, that is 30 PI down on the Lancia, can go a second faster. And I think that and it beat everything else by second and a half. It's a remarkable machine. And yet, I think that shows even more ability to the Lancia, because the Lancia only got beat by one car. I built every single vehicle I possibly could from the car list that would meet the restrictions I set out to meet earlier in the video. And I was only able to get one car to go faster. That shows just how crazy these cars were. And it's a testament to just how fast they were. They were way too fast, but yeah, this Commodore, if you want to go Group B routing at any given time, the Australians are the ones you gotta get in contact with. But that is it for this episode of Forza Horizon 3. I'll be back with more.